I mean, you've seen the title. How can I even try to do an intro that does a better job than that? I am Simon from What Culture. Please do subscribe. And yeah, here's 10 dark secrets wrestlers accidentally revealed. Number 10, Hulk Hogan gets in serious trouble. So this is super hard to talk about because it's just bad. All you need to do is Google the reaction the WWE locker room had to Hulk Hogan's apology to have it summed up for you. Not good. For those that don't know, though, during some sort of affair between Hogan and the wife of radio DJ Bubba the Love Sponge, and let's not get into it any more than that, Hulk was secretly recorded saying some truly abhorrent things that are 100% racist. In fact, that was the whole thing. That's what he said, and I quote, "I am racist to a point. It is unbelievable." It was in reference to daughter Brooke Hogan's partner, and it is just horrendous to watch. To even have this thought? There's no words. It did get worse, however, because yeah, when saying sorry, the Hulkster was more worried about warning others you never know who's listening, as opposed to, you know, not being an awful human. Now, neither you or I were there, so we don't know the total truth, but there's still no excusing what did happen. It certainly targets the Hulkamania legacy forever. Number 9, the Vince McMahon versus Triple H tension. And not sexual, in case you were thinking that way. What's wrong with you? But when Triple H took ownership of NXT, he had a plan. We can get our superstars of tomorrow ready, and then send them up to the main roster with a story, and bam, they'll fly. This would have rocked if we had followed through on it, but you know the deal. Instead, Vince McMahon would take over when Raw and SmackDown came into play, and anything we'd done on NXT was just gone. It sucked. It was a waste of time. Literally. Triple H actually hinted at this on a TakeOver conference call where he said, "People don't see the things they're missing from this side." That was in reference to these odd transitions, so he must have known. And we do know. Everybody knows. In 2019, the game even liked a tweet from a fan saying all of this before he promptly unliked it, because you can imagine the reaction. But who wouldn't be annoyed? You put in all this work and then nope. See you later. Number 8, a lot of other Twitter likes. And there's more of these as well. I'm not sure who is keeping an eye on wrestlers' social media 24/7. Whatever makes you happy, I suppose. You are a bit weird. A few that have come to light over the years include Jim Ross liking a tweet criticizing New Japan when he was working for New Japan, and Sasha Banks doing the same when a user posted they were so bored of Raw they couldn't watch it anymore. I mean, that was in 2019. And we all remember that. Jack Perry also liked another with someone claiming CM Punk was guilty of assault during the Brawl Out at All Out, but let's be a little bit fair here. While some of these are clearly individuals being caught in the act, accidental clicks are a thing too. I've done that. Then you freak out. Let's just shut it all down for good. Number 7, Kerry Von Erich's foot amputation. In 1986, Kerry Von Erich lost his foot after a motorbike accident. Sheesh. The rumor was that he was actually going to be okay until he carried on wrestling with this injury when doctors decided it had to go. For some reason following this, Father Fritz swore the family to secrecy like it was some sort of weird foot movie. Due to the wrestling industry, the rumors started to swell, but it is sports entertainment, so nobody knew for sure. Until Kerry came up against Colonel Diebers in 1988. Because as he was working over Von Erich's leg, Kerry's boot came off and everybody could see that all that was on the other end was a sock. Cue people going crazy. Vince McMahon jumped on this too and in true Carney fashion tried to get Kerry banned from wrestling via the Illinois State Athletic Commission. He's already lost his foot, leave him alone. Do not forget though, this meant none of the other wrestlers knew either, leaving some of his former opponents to be like, "Good grief, I worked that guy when he had no foot." That shouldn't be a sentence. So it really was quite the ruse, and who knows, if the boot had never come off, this could have been nothing more than a myth. But no, it was real and crazy. Number 6, Vince Russo let slip. He's helping TNA. Now this was dumb, wasn't it? The man who loved to swerve and famously said the worst part of wrestling is the wrestling, Vince Russo was not the most popular guy at the turn of the century, as many people felt his mad booking was responsible for the death of WCW. He's not solely to blame, but he is part of it. Despite that, TNA still hired him, and all of a sudden on TV we were getting all these weird reality-based stories and people saying offensive things. So either this was Russo or somebody was aping his style. The promotion denied this and Vince said he was not part of the show, until Mike Johnson of PW Cider got an email from Russo which talked about him working at, you guessed it, TNA. Of course he meant to send this to Mike Tenay, although I don't really know how you make that mistake. Before long we all knew it was bad and it blew up in everybody's face. It was also proof that Russo was in fact in constant touch with the dirt sheets, even though he claimed to hate them. That is wrestling summed up right there. Number 5, Triple H accidentally reveals a commentator is fired. Do you remember Jimmy Smith? He was the lead announcer on Raw for a while, and he did alright. I quite liked him, but one day he was just gone. I didn't need to sound that surprised because WWE does this all the time. Turnover is a little bit nuts. Smith did an interview with SiriusXM after this and actually revealed he knew his firing was coming based off an interaction with none other than Triple H. Because as we were gearing up for the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, Smith went to the game and tried to get a line cleared for the show, when he was told that maybe he should go and give that to Michael Cole instead. Surprise, surprise, alarm bell started to ring. That's an odd reply to get. Turns out Jimmy was a savant, as 48 hours later he was gone. That couldn't have been a nice 2 days for Jimbo, and to this day we don't really know why WWE said goodbye. They just did. That's what they do. Number 4, Chris Benoit's behavior. So I don't like talking about this for the obvious reasons. The Chris Benoit tragedies are just horrendous, and it's why I don't think we should talk about his career or matches. If you commit such heinous crimes, nothing else should matter regardless of the reasons. That's just my opinion either way. When the news did break in 2007, though, the world was stunned, both inside the wrestling bubble and outside of it too. This was worldwide news. Many claimed sheer shock that someone like Benoit could do such a thing, until we did get to 2010, when Paul London and Brian Kendrick did that infamous shoot interview. They saw this differently. Because while they didn't say as much, the pair chatted about some truly intense behavior of Benoit, including London insinuating Chris pressured him into sexual encounters with a waitress and he would watch. They were also very vocal about not being all that surprised and told some truly worrying tales about them at a restaurant, and this also extends to JBL and William Regal, allegedly. Many people have seen Regal's appearance during the Chris Benoit Raw tribute show, where he's very notably focused on the man's in-ring abilities as opposed to anything else. The word is, before the camera started to roll, Bradshaw asked William if he thought Benoit had anything to do with the murders. There's also reports that Chris was not doing all that well in the run-up to these, and that his relationship with wife Nancy was not in a good place. I suppose we'll never know for sure, but the idea that nobody saw this coming doesn't feel as cut and dry as maybe it once did. Number 3, the plane ride from hell was not a one-off. So we remember this even more now due to that Dark Side of the Ring episode, and it was not good times. The worst part is, while this outing pulled in headlines, it wasn't exactly totally crazy, because this sort of thing was happening a lot. Tommy Dreamer during that show even said this was sort of normal for the time, and while non-wrestlers would find this crazy, inside the bubble it was just another day, and I don't think that should be the case. Former WWE referee Mike Chioda also talked about similar incidents, whereas Rob Van Dam has some harrowing tales about drugging women and what would follow afterwards. It's beyond words. Sadly, the true dark side of the ring is that wrestling for a time was lost in these kind of acts, and it's why today is so much better. The backstage culture was incredibly out of control and just not cool. Even Marty Jannetty, who wasn't even with the company at the time, admitted he wasn't shocked to hear such tales. That was just the way he remembered things, so honestly, thank goodness it's all changed. Video games for life. Number 2, The Ultimate Warrior gets worse. No matter what your thoughts on The Ultimate Warrior were when you were a child, there are a lot of stories today that'll just break your fandom. The most popularized of these are his awful speeches where he went after the LGBTQ community, and let's just make it clear, whatever your sexuality, gender, race, color, you are welcome in the wrestling world. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. We do go back to Marty Jannetty with this one, as he talked about Jim Hellwig during a shoot interview. My word, the accusation was basically illegal. Now, we do have to make it clear this is just Marty's takes on things, and we don't know for sure. But he claimed in the 1980s during a flight, the boys gave some college kids GHB on a flight, and when one woman passed out, the warrior twisted the shib out of her nipples. That is a quote from one Marty Jannetty. Now, you just don't do that for obvious reasons, although to be honest with you, these shoot interviews are out of control in the modern day because, number 1, the 2000 shoot interviews. Yep. There's loads of disturbing info in here. If you were around at the turn of the millennium, you know that the shoot interview became very popular, as many a wrestler realized they could earn a pretty penny by revealing their stories to a wider audience. One of these featured Brutus the Barber Beefcake as he chatted to Sean Oliver about a so-called wrestling legend who would drug women, having his way with them before kicking them out of the locker room. For some reason, while recounting this, Brutus is just laughing away. I mean, it's not funny. It's only fair to mention that Beefcake is not a reliable source, as he has exaggerated to Hulk Hogan levels over the years. As we've already talked about, both Marty Jannetty and RVD claim to have had similar tales. Missy Hyatt too has echoed this, and when you do go through these chats, the same story comes up and again, with the narrator not realizing that this is truly horrendous to even recount. So I say again, give me wrestlers playing video games and mucking around on TikTok over this. To keep it simple, It's just not right. Know of any other dark secrets wrestlers accidentally revealed? Please let me know in the comments below, and don't just make them up. Before you like the video, share the video and subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com to get even more. You can also click the video on the screen right now to have some more fun on YouTube. Not that sort of fun. If you'd like to come say hello on social media, it's at Simon316 and What Culture WWE. My name is Simon What Culture. Thank you for stopping by as always. I hope you have a tremendous day and wear a hat that makes you smile inside, because what else is life about if not for happy hats? Goodbye.